I'm just going to get things set up. Thanks for joining us. Chris, I can hear something on the YouTube feed. Am I the only one unmuted? I heard a car horn just a second ago.
That would have been from my house, but I had my mic muted.
I hear you twice. I fixed that. Hey everybody, we're just going to give it another couple seconds. A lot of people are joining in right now, so just hang tight with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. Some of you have been on our other community forums, and I'm thankful for the time that you've spent with us. And for those of you who are joining us tonight, thank you. If you could keep your microphones muted, that'd be great. Please feel free to add a comment or a question in through either of the chat functions. There's one on the Google Meet and also on the YouTube link. And we will read those questions and answer them from there. So from here, I'll turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Michelle. It's good to see everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you've joined us for earlier sessions, my apologies. Ahead of time, you may be hearing a lot of repeated information. This is our third session that we provided, but we want to provide this information to the best of our ability and answer questions in a timely fashion. We promise a sense of transparency and our best thinking at this moment, given the guidance we've received to date from the Department of Health, the State Education Department, and the Governor's Office in regards to the reopening of schools. It's really important to recognize as well that this information is ever evolving and could change within the hour, the day, and the coming weeks leading up to our opening on September 10th when we welcome students back. We continue to receive questions via our community feedback form located on our website, and we've done our best to provide a timely response with the relevant information. We'll begin with questions tonight that have been submitted recently and have not yet been answered. Some questions we still do not have answers to. We'll try to have answers to those questions as soon as we have the applicable guidance or have made internal determinations. We'll then move to live questions using the chat feature, as Michelle stated. And when we get to that portion, Michelle will pose the questions. I will answer or pass them on to a fellow administrator. Any questions that we don't answer, we will be addressing that in our FAQ, which is on our website, and we'll continually do our best to update that. And I think it's also important to recognize that these are really stressful times for all of us. We're putting one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, and we're trying to be very aware of the need to shift our path based on feedback and emergent guidance. We are constantly planning, adjusting, planning some more, and adjusting some more. Please trust that we're doing our very best to put programming protocols in place that continue to advance educational opportunities for all of our students, while at the same time protecting the safety of our students, our faculty and staff, and our community as a whole. Thank you for your patience and support. We recognize the burden that our reopening plan has placed on all of you as parents, and we understand that this is not easy. We're in this together, and we'll get through this together. At this time, I would like the administrators and our Board of Education members who are on tonight to formally introduce themselves, starting with Chris Rogers, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Rogers. I'm the Director of Technology.
Hi, I'm Heather Thomas, the interim elementary principal.
Hello, I'm Mark Arquette, the middle school, high school principal.
Hi, I'm Kevin Elson, Director of Pupil Personnel Services.
Good evening. My name is Matt Crum. I am the school business official.
And our board members, please.
Michelle Jacobson, Board President.
Jennifer Jones, Board Member.
Corey Duclos, Board Member.
And I believe that's everybody. So thank you. I'm going to jump right in and start. I'm going to pose the question and read the response that we've put on our FAQ. So I'll jump right in. The first question: are there any school district guidelines about the frequency and duration of mask breaks? What can I as a parent expect my individual child's classroom experiences to be like? We've received a lot of questions in regard to masking and mask breaks. And a mask break is a period of time when social distancing can be consistently maintained that is thoughtfully designed or designated as an appropriate time for students and or our staff to remove their mask for a period of time. Mask breaks do not need to be continuous. At the elementary level, mask breaks will be provided at the teacher's discretion approximately once every 30 minutes, as long as physical distancing can be maintained. At the secondary level, mask breaks will be provided when physical distancing can be maintained during each cell when possible. There may be some exceptions for labs or other specials. Indoors, these breaks may occur when movement is restricted and actions that could increase the likelihood of the spread of the virus are avoided. When outdoors, for recess or outdoor class activities, masks are not required when students are seated and social distancing can be consistently maintained. During lunch and snack times, masks may be removed for the period of time that the students are seated. Possible mask break times could include when students are working on quiet reading or writing activity or a task that does not require movement or talking. The next question: I plan to have my children start remotely. What does this mean for sports? Can they participate? Yes. Students who opt or parents who opt to have their students learn virtually and are involved in athletics will be able to participate. The tentative start date as set forth by the State Athletic Association is September 21st. I know the State Athletic Association is in constant communication with the Department of Education, and they're looking at different models as far as shortened seasons or compressed seasons, and possibly switching some sports that are traditionally offered in certain seasons to other seasons. So a lot of information from the Athletic Association should be forthcoming in the next week or two. The next question: can the district provide any information about ventilation at the school? New York State Education Department guidance is clear that HVAC systems are designed far beyond typical public standards. Schools that have had renovations in the last 20 years have systems that are approved by the facilities planning out of state ed that exceed the standards for COVID-19. As part of our capital project, which is going on right now, our upgraded HVAC systems will include ventilation rates and filtration compliant with the latest codes. These changes will improve air quality in the building, with ventilation rates increasing in most spaces to almost 4 times what they were. All new equipment will have MERV 8 filters, and vertical unit vents in classrooms will have MERV 10 filters, which meet or exceed code. The next question: for the safety of all, should HCS delay opening or reopen fully remote for 1 week until enough time lapses between the mass influx of Colgate students and the possible subsequent COVID outbreaks? At this time, we are not planning to delay our reopening. However, we constantly track regional infection rates in correspondence with the Madison County Department of Health. And if circumstances present themselves that we should not reopen, we have plans in place to transition to fully remote instruction. The next question: can we please use the playground? We understand that our elementary students love to use the playground during recess. However, it becomes a cleaning and disinfecting challenge with all the high contact surfaces. We're currently analyzing if we can safely allow our students to use the playground, but until that determination is made, unfortunately, the playground is closed for recess. The next question, physical education needs to continue to be offered to our children in an in-person experience. Will phys ed continue to be offered? Yes, we agree 100% that phys ed should continue to be offered, and it will be offered at all levels. Will children be able to utilize lockers and cubby spaces? I'm going to pass this over to Heather Thomas, our elementary principal, and then she'll pass it to Mark Arquette, our secondary principal.
So currently in the elementary, we're planning on not using the lockers initially. The students will have in their classrooms, they will have a crate where they can put their personal items, as well as they'll have their backpack located near their desks or their table area. And then as the weather becomes colder, we will be using the lockers for storage for winter boots and coats and so forth. And students will be able to access those by using, they'll be spread out as well as color coded so that students will not be congregating at the lockers in a group, but they'll be like a red group will go out and be able to get dressed, and then the next group will go out as well. So that's our current plan for lockers right now.
And in the secondary, students will be able to access their lockers in the morning and in the evening. We're still discussing possibly at lunchtime as well. And we are looking at ways that we can separate students by using every other locker and finding out if we have enough room for that.
Thanks, Mark and Heather. The next question. If just one staff member or student tests positive, will the whole school shut down for deep cleaning? Or is there a threshold number of cases before it triggers a temporary shutdown? If the case is in the elementary, will secondary have to shut down too, and vice versa? Yes, if a student or staff member tests positive, the entire building will be shut down for 24 hours while the Madison County Department of Health conducts an investigation and begins their contact tracing and cleaning and disinfecting protocols. The next question. Will students in grade 1 through 5 who are in different cohorts have the same teacher or be in the same class? For example, on a Monday, will students in cohort A be physically present in a classroom while students in cohort B are participating remotely in that same morning meeting with the same teacher? So yes, students in grades 1 through 5 who are in different cohorts will have the same teacher. While cohort A students are in person with their teacher, cohort B students will be participating in a synchronous morning meeting with their teacher and then working asynchronously for the remainder of the day and vice versa. Heather, I don't know if there's anything more you want to add to that, or we can just move on.
I think she tried to unmute and hung up, so she'll be back on in just a second. There she
Okay.
is.
Oops, I'm sorry.
Your point.
Yeah, that pretty much covered it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question, will devices for remote learning be supplied by the school for all children or just children who need or request them? The answer is yes, we will provide devices for every one of our students. And we prefer that they use our devices for a number of reasons. For safety, we can track those devices. They will have all the apps, the software, the webcam, the microphone already installed on them to complete assignments. Chris, will you just talk about what devices parents can expect students to receive?
Sure. So if your student is a pre-K student through 3rd grade, all of those students use iPads at HCS. And then from 4th grade all the way up through 12th grade, they use Chromebooks. Just to echo what Bill said, our devices are new. They're in good shape. We can guarantee that they've got everything on them that the kids really need. So we would prefer it if students would use the device that we provide for them.
Thanks, Chris. The next question. I completely understand that it is not HCS's legal responsibility to provide child care, and I completely understand that HCS can't control the factors that make it safe or not to have students physically in school full time. So I'm not asking you to bring back younger students for more time. But here's what worries me. I'm not seeing in any of the messaging from the school an acknowledgement of how difficult and sometimes impossible it will be for parents and caregivers to do what HCS is asking. Even with good internet service, it isn't always possible for multiple live sessions to happen in a household at once. That will mean triage. Parents work, then older kids, then younger kids. For parents working outside their homes, the childcare arrangements they make may not include the capacity to deal with teachers' synchronous work expectations. For parents working from home, the fact that they are working means they won't always have the capacity to deal with teachers' synchronous work expectations. So the question is, will teachers be flexible as a matter of HCS-wide policy? Yes, teachers will absolutely be flexible. While it's not our legal responsibility to provide child care, we completely understand the challenges that families are facing with child care, internet access, and instructional support. We want all of our students in school every day, and that's our role, to educate every student every day. But however, given the guidance from the State Department of Health, the New York State Education Department, and the governor's executive orders, we've made the determination that it's not safe at this time to have all students in our building at one time. As we did throughout the spring, we'll be asking our faculty and staff to be flexible and understanding of student circumstances, given the unique situations that each family is facing. The next question. How exactly will HCS communicate a positive COVID test to the HCS community? Will I know if a student or teacher in my child's classroom or grade level tests positive? How wide is the net cast for contact tracing? So on page 27 of our reopening plan, there are protocols that we have listed for positive COVID-19 cases on campus. And in the event of a positive COVID-19 case, we'll follow Education Law 906, which provides whenever a student or staff shows symptoms of any communicable or infectious disease reportable under the public health law that imposes a significant risk of infection of others in the school, they'll be excluded from school and sent home immediately in a safe and proper conveyance. The school nurse will immediately notify the Madison County Department of Health of any disease reportable under the public health law, and the school nurse may take such evaluations of teachers and any other school employees that they may deem necessary to protect the health of students and staff. In regards to testing, if and when a student presents signs or symptoms of COVID-19, the individual will be sent home. The parent or guardian of the student should then consult with their child's doctor if they should be tested for COVID-19. Staff members who report any symptoms of COVID should contact their primary care physician and discuss whether or not testing is appropriate. If a family does not have a doctor or the doctor is not available, individuals should call the Upstate University's COVID-19 triage line, which is located, that number is in our FAQ, and they will help you with that process. It's important to note that when an individual with symptoms is tested for COVID-19, they're asked to quarantine by their healthcare provider until they receive their test result. If the test comes back negative, they're notified by their healthcare provider and no longer need to quarantine and may return to school after symptoms have resolved, unless the individual is placed into quarantine due to an exposure to a positive case. In this instance, the individual will complete the full quarantine period regardless of a negative test result. If the test comes back positive, they're notified by their healthcare provider, and the Madison County Department of Health will then contact them for a case investigation. The individual will be issued an order for isolation for a minimum of 10 days from symptom onset. The health department will then conduct daily follow-up and release individuals from isolation when appropriate. In regards to contact tracing, the Madison County Health Department will be responsible for all contact tracing as they would any positive case of COVID-19 in the entire county. They'll work closely with the school and family to identify all close contacts, those who came within 6 feet of the positive case for at least 10 minutes. Those individuals will then be notified and issued quarantine orders. They will receive daily follow-up from Madison County staff to monitor symptoms and ensure compliance. The Madison County Health Department will provide the school district with guidance related to cleaning and disinfecting, as well as additional testing for students and staff. School buildings of the positive case will be shut down for at least 24 hours for cleaning and disinfecting, and so that the contact tracing can then be investigated. Those are the questions that have been submitted recently to our FAQ. Michelle, if you want to start posing live questions, we'll do our best.
Sure. Well, I pose the first one and we answer that. If you have questions, please use the 2 chat functions and I will read them from there. The first question is, have you heard anything more about BOCES?
Mark, you want to take that one?
Yep. So BOCES is running an AABB cohorted schedule. Monday, Tuesday, A group, Thursday, Friday, B group, Wednesday off. And Ms. Daou has been working on putting students into the different cohorts based on the parameters that BOCES has sent us. She's working on a letter that should be sent out soon. I'm not exactly sure what her progress is on the complete placement of all the students into different cohorts, but I know she's working on it and she's close to finishing that up, and you should be hearing something from her soon.
Thanks, Mark.
What is the current first day of school?
So the first day of school will be September 10th, and that is for, let me get the correct cohorts for you. September 10th, elementary cohort will be in person. Cohort A will be in person. Middle school will be in person. Elementary cohort B will be virtual, and high school will be virtual.
Could you please share more about what the condensed morning schedule for Wednesday will be?
Yeah, for high school, Wednesday is going to run all 9 periods, and they're going to meet for approximately 10 minutes each with 5 minutes in between to touch base with teachers, ask questions about whatever asynchronous work they have planned for the afternoon on Wednesday, and also for attendance purposes. And then in the afternoon, the students will work independently while the faculty will reach out to individual families, reach out to the special ed department and the counseling department to work on targeted interventions for our students that may be struggling. And early in the morning from 7:50 to 9 o'clock is a time for faculty meetings for the teachers as well, for team meetings, grade level, or by department.
Mark, to continue with you, if there's a class that's above 12 students, there will be a satellite room. How will students be allocated between the main classroom and the satellite room? And will the satellite students ever rotate back into the main classroom to interact with their teacher face-to-face?
Yeah, so students will randomly be placed into the satellite room to begin with, and then we will rotate those students to make sure that students aren't always in the satellite room and some students aren't always in the main room.
Next question is, will middle school on Wednesday be the same for as high school?
Yes.
Will technology training be available for parents?
Yes, and I plan to begin that as early as next week. I plan to hold both synchronous sessions with parents who want to learn about our various technology platforms and our hardware, because the hardware will be at your homes and you may need to troubleshoot it. I'm also in the process of building a library of resources that are available. I'm posting those on the technology page of our COVID section of our website. And I'm trying to put everything that will be useful for parents there. But the short answer is yes, there'll be technology training, and there'll also be technology support available. You can feel free to email me or call me at any time. I've got software that can allow me to support you remotely, and I did that in the spring with lots of parents. So yes, there'll be lots of technology support.
Great, thank you. Has there been any guidance of any kind regarding sports?
Yes, so the State Athletic Association has set a tentative start date for fall sports of September 21st. And they are looking at different models to be able to allow kids to participate. They're looking at condensed schedules. They're looking at the switching of certain sports to different seasons. So the State Athletic Department is working with the Department of Health and the State Education Department to come up with those models. So stay tuned on that.
Are there any metrics in place to close the school due to an outbreak? And who makes the call? The governor, HCS, Madison County?
All of the above. So we are in constant communication with the Madison County Department of Health. They are looking at metrics countywide with the superintendents to come up with some sort of consistent metric that school would close. The governor has put in place metrics to close school. If the regional infection rate goes above 9%, then all schools would close. But those are ever changing.
In the satellite classrooms, do they have a computer set up to see the teacher? And is there a teacher's assistant or somebody else present?
Yes, there will be somebody else present in the satellite room. And each of the rooms either has a Promethean board or some sort of smart board that the teacher will be projected on, and the students will be able to see the teacher.
How will the daily nursing services be carried out in light of social distancing?
So we are currently working with our nurse. We have an additional RN that we're going to bring on staff to start the school, to start the school year, to help us with screenings and assessing. So we will have 2 RNs on duty to start the year to help with that process.
When will parents know the students' cohorts to plan their childcare?
So we are compiling the results from the survey that we had sent out, and then the cohort should be ready and announced on Friday, and that will go out via a letter with a packet of information that will also be attached to that. So this Friday is the finalization of the cohorts.
Heather, does that mean parents will receive it Friday or it's being sent on Friday?
No, it's being sent out on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle, I'd like to expound on the RN services and the nursing services. So we are also setting up 2 isolation rooms within our facility, so that if a student presents or a faculty member presents, they can go to the isolation room or rooms. We're going to have 2 set up for that. We'll also have our regular nurse's office available and staffed in case you have your regular ailments from students, a bruise or a cut or whatever, a runny nose. So we're going to be well staffed, and all of those rooms will be equipped with the appropriate PPE.
Thank you. How will HCS provide services to students with IEPs that are going virtually?
Yeah, so students that have IEPs that have elected, whose families have elected to have them learn virtually, will receive remote services virtually. The special education services will be delivered by the special education teachers that they normally have, and the related service providers as well. We'll be working with those families virtually at home. Wednesday is designed to really meet as many of the students that are learning virtually, but we also have time built in on other days for teachers and related service providers to provide some of those services virtually as well.
Have you had conversations with officials at the county or state level to discuss the unique risks that Hamilton faces by opening just 2 weeks after Colgate reopens? News reports indicate that universities that have opened have significant outbreaks in the first couple of weeks.
So we have had conversations with the Madison County Health Department weekly. Specific to Colgate reopening, we have not had those conversations. Again, we will We'll confer to them if we should not open based on infection rates. We'll confer to them as they're the experts, and we'll be in communication with them and make a determination. If the rates are rising and they feel as though we should not open, then we'll take their guidance and not open.
How will specials in elementary and high school work?
So the special schedule is being planned in the elementary so that students are able to engage in shortened specials on the days that they are in person, as well as there will be opportunities for remote learning for specials as well, specifically in art and music. And then PE is also being built into the schedule on a weekly basis as well.
And in the secondary, students will follow their regular schedule. So in-person days, they would be meeting with their specials, PE, music, art. And then they would have a combination of asynchronous or synchronous lessons on the online days.
Do the kindergarten students that are doing completely virtual have to be online at a certain time to chat with the teacher? Finding places for daycare regarding this is hard to find.
So the kindergarten program is running 4 days a week. It's an AM and PM program, and the primary components of that are presented in person. But there will be a virtual day on Wednesdays. So students who are in kindergarten will have access to asynchronous materials throughout those 4 days that other students may be attending in person. So no, it will not be a synchronous experience for them, and they're not expected to be online for that entire time period.
When is the high school and middle school schedule provided, and will they include information as to which blocks are synchronous and asynchronous? When will they be available?
Yes, they will include synchronous and asynchronous, and I've tried to make it as user-friendly as I can, and I've also included in the packet a blank schedule for students to be able to fill in once they get their schedule to try to simplify everything. Chris, we're going to post it soon, so do you know where exactly on the webpage we would be posting it, Chris?
I'll post it in a few places. So I'll put it on the news feed. I'll put it on the COVID page as well, and then we'll put a pop-up that will come up so that people will know that it's there.
Is there a possibility of moving from a fully remote option to a homeschool option if it's not working for the child's needs? Sorry.
Yes, there is. And, we have stated all along that our plan is going to be fluid, and we recognize that parent decisions are going to be fluid and may change based on parental circumstances and family circumstances. So there is a process. I want to be real clear that homeschooling needs to be approved by my office. It's a process through the state education department and the commissioner's regulations that you have to follow. There's a real strict application process and approval process. So you can do that at any time that you feel like you want to pull your student from our virtual option in homeschool. But you would unenroll your student from HCS, and then you would be responsible for the homeschooling component for that instructional purposes.
The choice could also be to bring them to the hybrid model, if that was something that the family wanted to do as well, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
How will lunchtime be handled in both elementary and high school, especially for those kids that have food allergies?
So in the elementary, the plan for lunch right now is to have lunch in their classroom. So they will be physically distanced in the classroom. And that actually goes for breakfast as well as lunch.
And in the secondary, the same protocols that we've had in place for food allergies still exist. We'll be utilizing parts of the cafeteria and the high school gymnasium for lunch.
What will happen with extracurricular activities?
So we would like to be able to offer as many extracurriculars as we can do safely. We want students involved. We think it's important to be able to have students involved. We have to do it safely. So we will look at every extracurricular in isolation, and if we can offer it, we will, in a safe manner.
Please feel free to add more questions to either of the chat boxes. I've worked through both of them so far, as well as more of the FAQ page with questions that we have there. So if you have other questions, please feel free to type them in now.
Just to interrupt a minute to go back to the middle school, high school schedule. I can see on the question that I didn't answer completely. When will it be available? I'm hoping to have it on the webpage tomorrow.
We have a comment, not a question, but thank you so much for all the work you're doing. We're very happy with the plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. It means a lot.
We are scheduled to be here till 7, but if there are no other questions, we could wrap up early. I'm going to just talk for a second, but hopefully give people time to type if they want. But we're really appreciative for everybody that's joined our 3 community forums. We think that they've been very helpful and ran very well. Grateful to the administration for the time that's put into these 3 forums, and for all the teachers and staff that have been working tirelessly to prepare for the opening of school. So again, please feel free to add your questions in the community or in the chats at this time. A thank you for hosting the forums and for the hard work. Okay, hold on one second. I have a question. Let me read it. How will BOCES transportation work?
It will work as normal. We will provide transportation for all of our BOCES students in the morning and afternoon. Times may be adjusted a little bit depending on our cohorting and our mid-afternoon runs, but we will make sure that we try to stay on schedule for programming all at BOCES, and we will be providing that.
Hey, Bill.
Bill, if I could just jump in quickly, with regard to BOCES career and technical education, historically we have shared transportation with the Madison School District, but that will not be the case, at least for the start of this school year.
And that is for safety reasons and contact reasons. We're trying to limit contacts with neighboring districts.
Bill, what if a student is in our cohort that's virtual, but the BOCES cohort is there?
So they will still attend. BOCES is asking on their in-person days for all students to attend, because there's certification components and credentialing components that you have to have so many in-person hours that they need to have to meet those requirements. So as of now, BOCES is asking all students to report for their in-person days. They will not be offering a virtual option for their in-person days.
And to add to that, Chris, because we're following our schedule, they should be okay because they won't have classes if they had AM BOCES, so they wouldn't be missing anything on the Hamilton side.
I see that there's a question that popped up there about IEPs and 504s. Will students with IEPs or 504s receive services virtual or in person 5 days a week? So yes, they will receive services both virtual and in person primarily, we're going to try and make attempts to fulfill the IEPs and the 504s as written. So that would be 5 days a week. So attempts will be made to do that. It will be a combination of in-person. If students are here, they'll get their services in person. If they're virtual, they'll get services virtually. Having said that, it's still a pretty complicated mix of IEPs and 504s and students virtual and in school. To meet all of those IEPs and 504s as written, we're going to do our best to do that. But I hope that answers that question.
If a teacher or student is COVID positive, will everyone that was in the class be quarantined for 14 days? Does anybody else have to quarantine?
The Department of Health will make those determinations. We will not make those determinations. So we will rely on the Department of Health. They will offer us guidance and direction as to who has to quarantine and who does not have to quarantine.
Please know that we still have the link that we've sent out available. So if you do have questions after we're off tonight, you can submit your question online and we will add it to the FAQ doc or reach out to you directly. So this is not the last opportunity to have questions answered. Heather, in the last couple of sessions, you've asked people to contact you if they want to volunteer or anything like that. Can you go over that for us again here?
Yes. So we are currently right now and tomorrow putting together the finalizations for the cohort. So the first thing I would ask is that if you have not already reached out to me or to the elementary office to talk about individual preferences or situations involving one cohort that may work better for you than another, if you can please do that as soon as possible. You can email me right now or shortly after this meeting,hthomas@hamiltoncentral.org, or call 824-6330. And I'd love to have those conversations with each individual family about if you know something isn't going to work for you. So this is the time to do that while we're putting those together. And also, like, I've just received such a positive, response in terms of offers of volunteering that I want to say publicly that I really appreciate everybody who has reached out in that way. And also, if you are interested in doing that, if you can contact me as well. At this point in time, it's just hard to envision what school is going to look like in the fall, and some of the needs that we may have are unknown at this point in time until we just jump in and get moving. So if you are interested in that area, I would greatly appreciate that. And I'm kind of collecting a bank of volunteers for that as well.
Thanks, Heather. We did have a question come in. What form will virtual work be submitted?
You want me to take this one, Bill?
Sure.
So we listened to all the community feedback, and we've begun the process of consolidating our virtual platforms. And right now in that process, all the students that are currently using Chromebooks, that's kids in grades 4 through 12. Teachers will be using Google Classroom, and they will be submitting any virtual work that way. Any students currently in pre-K through 3 are going to continue to use Seesaw for now. Seesaw offers some unique benefits to the really young kids. It doesn't have a lot of reading. It's mostly pictures, big buttons, and it's very easy to use, very user-friendly. So for the younger kids, pre-K through 3, it will be Seesaw, and for the rest, it will be Google Classroom.
Thank you. For curriculum, will it be taken into account that some students may be behind after the emergency closing last year?
I can answer that in the elementary. So we definitely are taking that into consideration. And the teachers from last year's classes have already communicated with the next year's teachers the areas that maybe they didn't cover fully or that they feel needs to really be focused on at the beginning or the start of this new year. In addition to that, we're really looking at prioritizing standards and looking at the standards that are going to be most vital for students to have, knowing that this combination, this hybrid model is not going to be the same delivery of service as it would be if it were in person completely. So yes, is the answer to that. We definitely are looking at that. The other piece to that is the beginning of the school year will be a time for assessment. And so we really are in the elementary, you're just going to have a strong focus on making sure that we understand exactly where students are coming into the school and the starting place that they're starting from this year so that we can build off of that and teachers have that information.
And to echo a lot of the same things in the secondary, also with the secondary schedule, we've built in time on Wednesdays and the asynchronous times on the online days will be an opportunity for students to reach out to their teachers for extra help and to try to get on track.
If you visit a high COVID state, you have to quarantine for 14 days or 10 days. The students, do the students have to be fully remote, or can they go to school and monitor for symptoms? Parents will just communicate. How will the parents communicate with the teachers and what the students' needs are to be fully remote?
So the Department of Health would require a 14-day quarantine. They would not be allowed to come to school. They would be fully remote, and they should communicate that to the building principal, and then the building principal then communicate that to the applicable teachers.
Thank you. The awkward silence of waiting for people to type things in. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We'll wrap up here, I think, since I see no more questions coming in. I do really appreciate everybody's time joining us tonight, those that joined us this afternoon and last night. It's really appreciated, and it's nice to see how many people are on top of what is going on with school opening and ready to get their kids back in the game. So thank you. To the administrators and teachers, thank you for all your hard work that you've put into this plan, put into getting your classes ready, and I'll turn it over to Bill to finish.
Thank you, Michelle. I'll just echo some of those sentiments. We appreciate the questions. We appreciate your interest and your investment in your child's education here at Hamilton. Even though our community forums are concluded, please continue to submit questions to our FAQ. We'll do our best to answer them in a timely manner. And I just want to frame what some of the work we'll be doing internally in the next 2 weeks. We're going to continue to meet internally and try to put all these puzzle pieces together. Now that we have parent intents, we'll be able to announce our elementary cohorts and our teacher assignments by the end of the week. Our secondary schedules will be forthcoming. We'll also continue to look at the gaps in the delivery of both our remote and in-person instruction, the level of supervision, transportation, our arrival and dismissal protocols we're still working out, some of our nutritional assistance that we're going to provide to families who are fully remote. We need to work out the logistics for that. So we're prepared for our September 10th reopening. We have a lot of work to do still. We're working diligently and we are making progress. I want to thank you all for your questions. I want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you for your understanding during these really challenging times. We've had a lot of positive support, and that is really important to us, and it makes our work a bit easier. So thank you to our panel, our administrators, our teachers, our faculty and staff, everybody involved in our learning community. I say this many times, we're in this together and we'll get through it together. So thank you very much and have a good rest of your evening. We appreciate you.